right, listen up. This is the Music Scene Podcast. I am your host, Dave Cudrak. Today, we've got Nashville singer-songwriter Carly Zimmerman. You can find her on Instagram at CarlyZCreative. She is doing it. She is a songwriter in Nashville. She's living the dream. Music is something she's always wanted to do, but there have been several paths in her journey that has taken her away from music, but she's always found her way back. It's a great conversation, especially if you're interested in what it's like to be a songwriter in Nashville. She's not really interested in, becoming a stage performer, becoming the traditional rock star or country star. Her thing is really all about songwriting, although she's got an incredible voice. And she could play the guitar really, really well also. She won the Golden Pick contest that the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville holds every month. Yeah, I think you're really going to enjoy this. There's tons of information on what it's like to be a songwriter in Nashville. And we kind of try to define making it as a songwriter. So very interesting stuff. She also has some other stories as well that are very, very cool and interesting. She's lived all around the world, several different countries. We talk about all those experiences. And it's just an all-around fun conversation with Carly. We get 2 songs from her at the end. One of them is the song that won her the Golden Pick contest for Bluebird, so make sure you check that out. So she's got a lot going on, but it's a great conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it. Here's my conversation with Carly Zimmerman. There she is. Hey, Carly.
Dave, how are ya?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Can you hear my washing machine?
I don't think so. There might be a little bit of a hum in the background, but that's okay.
I can turn it off. I was laughing because the cycle's supposed to be done, of course, and then it's like, oh, wait, no, let's add 15 extra minutes. I was like, okay.
Of course.
But I can definitely turn it off.
No, don't worry about it. I don't want you to get behind on laundry. I hate doing laundry, so whenever I get a chance to actually do laundry, I don't ever want to stop doing it, or I won't get back to it for another week.
I hear you.
So thanks for agreeing to do the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. He's fun.
I first discovered you. I follow the Bluebird on Instagram, I think, and wasn't even aware that they had a Golden Pick contest or something like that. And then I guess they posted that you won. What month was that you won? June or July, I think, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so maybe it was June. Anyway, they posted that you had won, and I was like, oh, let me check this out. And I heard your performance. Great song, by the way.
Thank you.
And I submitted a song, didn't win, but oh well, it's fine.
Well, when I won, I had submitted multiple times. And
you did? Okay.
Yeah, a few friends of mine who have won, all I think but one of them had submitted the same song over and over, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll try again. Who
knows?
You
should.
How was that experience? I mean, I think you won. They gave you a guitar, right? A Taylor American made, I think.
Yep.
And then you got to play a guaranteed spot at the open mic at Bluebird, right?
Yes.
How'd that go? Tell me about that experience.
It was great. I think the best thing is that they also, if you want, they will place you in the audition for an actual Bluebird spot.
Oh, wow.
On a weeknight kind of thing. And so normally it's kind of you have to just get on your phone and have really fast fingers and try to get in the potluck of people who get to audition. So that was a relief that they stick you on that.
That's awesome.
And then, I think it looks good to them if they've kind of known you before from something like Golden Pick. So, it's a process though, because after that you still have 4 auditions to do once you're actually on the stage, and then you get on in the round show. It takes years. So
really,
yeah.
So are you still in the process of that then, or?
Yes. So I had my first show December 29th of last year, and then my second one will be in June. So it'll be like four.
And that's part of the audition.
It's weird because like I passed the audition, but then it's like they still judge you for like 4 times until you get to the round. So it's
before you get one of the rounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like on that side stage for the next couple of times. And then if they say, okay, great, then they'll put you in the round. Is that how it works?
Yeah, as like a featured writer, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. When you played because I saw that post, I was doing a little bit of research before we got on the call here. And I saw the post of you playing at the Bluebird, and I wasn't sure if that was the open mic or I guess it was this other thing that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, it's like a Sunday writers night. So there's a few writers on the lineup that night that are all kind of doing the same thing, trying to get a real spot.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now I'm going to ask a stupid, touristy question, something that somebody from New Jersey would ask, because that's where I am. Any like celebrities in the audience at the Bluebird? Because I know it's a legendary spot.
I think sometimes there are. I haven't met. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, there are some big songwriters. It's just not people that people would be like starstruck by because they would know their name. Songwriters usually we're in the background of things. So, beyond that, they definitely do perform and they definitely do come to shows, but I haven't been lucky enough.
Okay.
Yeah, Bluebird.
Yeah, the last time I was in Nashville was this past August, and we went. I managed to get tickets. I had to get online like the minute tickets went on sale, and I tried a bunch of different shows and different time slots, and finally landed a pair of tickets.
Yeah,
and we went to one of the round gigs, and obviously, I don't remember any of the writers' names, but like they were saying that they wrote for like Kenny Chesney and all these other folks, and and they named a couple of songs. One guy wrote a song or two on Chris Stapleton's like big album, and it was like, wow, like this is crazy. So yeah, very interesting. And then they played these songs, and it's almost like I can't believe like you're not the one that's famous, because like they all have great voices and they all can play the hell out of their instruments. I don't quite understand it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like a lifestyle thing. It's like there's such a difference in the lifestyle of a professional songwriter versus an artist.
Right,
so, right. My bedtime's 10 p.m. is what I like, I don't know. And I've traveled a lot. I've been lucky enough. So I'm kind of like, I'm good. I don't know if I want to like live on a bus and do the whole tour thing and stay up late. I'm like, what I like is the craft, and I'm awesome. So happy for other people to sing my songs.
That's great. What does it look like to be a songwriter in Nashville, if you don't mind me asking?
I love that question because I think my path looks different than a lot of people, but also than like the myth of what people think maybe an artist or a songwriter's life would be like. Because I do think it's a myth that like, first of all, that people in music are like, I don't know, you have to be perpetually broke and drunk and crazy and like emotionally unstable and disorganized. There's all these myths about creative people, which I don't ascribe to. And to be honest, they took me a long time to kind of overcome in my own head because they were kind of built in there. So we can talk about, all the crazy things that I've done with my jobs and where I've lived and stuff. But now I'm in Nashville. I have a full-time job.
Yep.
So, which I love. This is part of the mythology that I try to, I love talking about because you can love your job. You can have a full-time job and you can love it, and you can also do songwriting, and there's not, it doesn't have to be a huge, awful competition there. I love my full-time job. I manage like a premium co-working space, so I'm talking to people all day.
Cool.
The funny thing about that is that there's a lot of clients, like a lot of members, as we call them, who would get offices with us, who are like, literally, Tucker Wetmore came into my space a couple of weeks ago because his PR company is there,
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, and there would be songwriting management companies there, and a lot of people in the industry in my space. So it's funny. It's a lot of the opportunities that I've had have actually come through my job.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I do work full time, and then I write every weekend. So I get co-writes together. Try to every Saturday and Sunday. Every so often, I gotta like hit the brakes and and have a few days off. But and then sprinkled in there, I'm doing songwriter rounds in Nashville, or competitions, like songwriting competitions and things like that, trying to keep up with social media and all the things that you have to do. But
sure.
It's all kind of a balance, and it gets out of balance and then I have to go back. But the main through line is that I came to Nashville to write songs, and that's what I'm doing.
That's great. That's awesome. So, so let's work a little bit backwards, maybe. I don't know, like, your bio said that you were in Dubai at one point, living alone, right? And then did you go from Dubai? Was it Dubai right to Nashville?
Yes.
I think it was, right? So what made you decide to move from Dubai to Nashville?
So long story short, so I actually went to LSU for music. So I have my bachelor's in music, but LSU, I didn't know at the time when I went there, when I chose to go there, it's like a classical conservatory environment, right?
Okay.
I thought music school was music school because, nobody that I really knew had ever been to college and had definitely not done music. So I had no idea, went in, was like, this is awful. Like, and for me, it was a great school and I love the football and all of that. But so I ended up quitting after. I mean, I was like, I'm clearly not a musician. This is not for me. And so I went and got my master's in arts administration, and from there got to move to Ireland and work.
Oh, okay. So that's how you got to Ireland and then further on to Dubai. So arts administration, what's that?
So another thing that I went in not really knowing what it was and then found out through the process, but it's essentially arts institutions of all different kinds. So museums, galleries, dance studios and all sorts of things would kind of fall under that umbrella. A lot of it is nonprofit, which is another tangent I can get on that I will not. But working in nonprofit is very different and very interesting than working in a for-profit environment.
Right.
But anyway, I was in Ireland for 5 years. Then I did move to Dubai to work on the World's Fair. The most amazing thing I've ever done. And to answer your previous question about like choosing to move from Dubai to Nashville, for one thing, I was on a 6-month contract because the event itself is long. But so I kind of had this, open-ended decision to make. But I remember, I think listeners should go and Google World Expo Dubai 2020. Because,
World Expo Dubai 2020. Okay.
Yeah, this was the event I worked on, and it's jaw-dropping. It's absolutely unbelievable. I can't even articulate it. Besides saying that these World Expos happen every 5 years somewhere around the world. Dubai was it in 2020. It got moved to 2021 because of the pandemic, but every country comes together for 6 months. And in Dubai, every country had a pavilion, architecturally unbelievable.
Okay.
Showcasing their food, their culture, their technology, their innovations, everything. And so you're just there for 6 months, soaking this all in and experiencing every different thing around the world in one place. And I remember standing in the middle of that event one day and looking up, and it was like, everything was amazing. In the Middle East, at least in Dubai, you get paid tax-free.
Okay, nice.
I was like sitting there thinking like, this is the best job I'm ever going to have.
Yeah.
And I still want to do music.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So you're in like the middle of what you would think is the height of your professional career, but you've still got this itch about music.
It was always there, and I didn't really know what to do with it. I was terrified of it for a long time. Like I said, music school, to my mind at the time, it was like, well, that's proven that I can't do it. And, I'm an organized person. I don't drink. There's like, it sounds so crazy, but in my mind, it really was like, well, I guess I'm not an artist. And then I just had to admit after a while, it was like, I mean, you can't get away from it. There's no getting away from it. And I finally figured out that songwriting, and I actually didn't even know it until after I moved to Nashville, that songwriting was a career. Most people, I feel like, don't really know that.
I think I agree. I don't think a lot of people know that you can just write songs. Yep. Yeah.
So that, like, songwriting is a career in music that really aligns with my interests.
That's great.
Like I said, like, I don't really care to be famous. The artist thing is not, like, I laugh at myself when I'm sitting there doing writers rounds in Nashville and I'm playing my guitar and I'm singing, but in the back of my head, I'm like, I think I have a frozen pizza at home, and I think what I want to do is, like, when I get, and it's like, I can tell the people next to me are like on fire for this performance. And I'm just like, I love the song, but the performing is not the thing for me. So moving from Dubai and taking that leap to Nashville and figuring out through that, big decisive action that, okay, there is a spot for me in music was huge.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is I'm on Instagram. I see a lot of people talking about, I'm going to go and move to another country and it's going to be amazing. And I'm like, good luck, because there's so much that you don't know until you start living abroad. And it is so hard. It is great, and it is so hard. And the hardest part, and this is my perspective, maybe over dramatizing it a little bit, but what I found is, I'm from Texas. I am like an American through and through because I was born here and grew up here. And that's something that nobody else around the world can ever really understand. And I can't really ever understand them and the culture that they grew up in. So there's always this disconnect. There's always this bit of tension. That's not necessarily bad. But after 6 years, I was like, I have to get back to like whatever myself is. I think I'm going to find it in the South where I'm from.
Oh, okay.
So like with that equation, it was like Nashville, or it was like music, and I have to get back to the South, and Nashville to me.
What better place, right?
Like perfect decision,
That's awesome. That's great. I do wholly subscribe to the notion of there's no better education than travel. So like I've been a few places myself just on vacation. I've never, lived anywhere outside of the country, but yeah, I mean, I've been to Ireland, I've been to Austria, and obviously Canada a couple times, but like you do experience these other cultures and you're like, man, like the world is a very different place than what I thought it was living in South Jersey. You know what I mean? I guess that takes me back to when you're talking about songwriting and how really that's kind of your passion, not so much the entertainment, becoming a world famous rock star, country star, whatever. That makes more sense now when I look at your website, because I went to your website and, the main gist of the website is, custom songs. So at least that's what I got just looking at your website. Like, oh, Carly's all about, writing songs for other people, whatever. So, and I noticed, and forgive me if you have it out there and I just couldn't find it, I didn't find any releases under your name. Like you don't have any songs out on Apple Music, Spotify, things like that. Am I right?
You know what's funny? So I actually have a couple different websites. One of them is for custom songs. One of them is for what used to be an artist project that I had. So when I was in Ireland, I actually did, again, like trying to figure it out, not really knowing musically where I fit, but I had these songs that I had written, and I did actually put out an album like on Spotify. It's funny saying this because it's so different from what I do now that I'm like, I don't even recognize the songs and the person who even did those songs, because this was a while ago. But Carly Z is the artist name on Spotify and everything else. So I think there should be like 17 songs that are under my name from a few years ago, but I've really done kind of a 180 on that and kind of, really focus on country with a little bit of pop mix in now.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I was perusing your Instagram, and your latest post on Instagram is a pop song, which I think is very catchy, by the way.
Thanks.
So I love the caption said, I'll be right back, gonna try pop real quick, or something like that. It was hilarious. So the stuff that's out on Spotify under Carly Z, that's not country? Is that more pop stuff?
It's not country at all. And the reason that I was magnetized to country, and the funny thing is I find this with a lot of other country songwriters, is that we weren't necessarily, now I'm from Texas, so in a way, yes, I was, but like born and bred in country and listened to that primarily for all of our lives. I was drawn to country because to my mind, it's the only genre commercially that you can write a story and it can be commercially viable. A lot of people may be able to hear it. I mean, I love country in general, country music, but really to me, it's the storytelling and it's the craft of songwriting that can be expressed through that. You can get that in other genres, but I feel like country is the premier genre.
Yeah, it's definitely not as prevalent in other genres. And I agree. I mean, even though I'm sitting here in New Jersey, believe it or not, the southern part of New Jersey, we're more of a suburb of Philadelphia as opposed to New York City. And we've got pinelands in South Jersey, the Pine Barrens, they're called. Hundreds and hundreds of acres of just pine forest, believe it or not, right? And we've got a large pocket of country music. There's a very big country music scene here in South Jersey. And yeah, a lot of my friends, myself included, we have a tendency to when we write songs, what comes out seems to be country, because I think a lot of us have a story to tell, or we want to, put out some kind of narrative that's a story of some kind. And I agree wholeheartedly, like country music really lends itself to that, and it's commercially viable, right? Like, can put it out and maybe people will listen to it.
And what's funny? I think people still think of country as a niche genre in some way. But I remember I was watching one of those Garth Brooks documentaries a while ago, and, Ireland, where I was for 5 years, he did shows there. There was a controversy. He sold a bunch of tickets and then wasn't able to play or something. But I was calculating out the amount of tickets that he sold, because it was like a multi-night run. It was a fourth of the country was going to see Garth Brooks. And that to me is like, okay, yeah, like it's not niche if like a fourth of a country is gonna like cared enough to buy tickets. And obviously we know now, Post Malone, Beyonce, like the list is very long of people who are now getting into country. I wouldn't be surprised if part of the reason for that is like this desire to get back to some sort of whatever authenticity means.
Yeah.
Because country, it'd be a little too broad strokes to say like country has it, no one else does, but I do think there is a little bit of like down home something about it that's attractive.
Yeah, agreed. I definitely, I think so too. When you're writing, and I think a large majority of my listeners for this podcast are songwriters themselves. So what does your writing process look like, especially coming from someone who focuses most of their time on songwriting?
It has changed, actually, because Nashville does it in such a specific way.
Really?
So, yeah. I mean, co-writing is not something I ever thought about. Or really, I think if someone had ever even mentioned it to me before Nashville, I would have been like, no, thanks. I'm a lyrics person, so I feel like also in Nashville, people are you kind of label yourself and what kind of strength that you have. So if I were to do that, I would say I'm a lyrics person and I'm an ideas person. So I love to bring the idea in the room. That's the one that gets written. And then I really focus on the words. Actually, one of the guys from the Bluebird, who was a pro writer who was on stage, he described it as, what I love is the Sudoku of songwriting. And I was like, that is it. Because I have a lot of artist friends and other songwriter friends who say like, oh, I write to express something because I feel the need to express. I get that. And there's a part of me that maybe goes that way, but that's actually not why I write songs. I find it so fun. It's like there's a big puzzle in front of me and I'm moving the pieces around and then it comes out to something that connects emotionally and all that's awesome. But it is like it's a game. To me, it's really fun like that. So lyrically, it's really like a nerdy process. So before I started co-writing, lyrics would definitely be the main thing. Sometimes I wouldn't even put chords to things, or melodies would kind of come naturally with the lyrics, but the chords usually would be after that. And then, and I wrote my whole kind of artist project like that. And then when I got to Nashville, I find it so fun. And I don't know how to write songs without co-writing pretty much.
Oh, really?
I love it. It's, first of all, I'm going to, say something that we hear like ad nauseum all the time, but the fact that we're so disconnected, it's so great to like literally be in a room with people and have fun. I mean, the first hour of pretty much every write is like shooting the shit and having fun or talking about issues in the industry or whatever. And then you start getting to the write. And then it just kind of, usually what we have is what we call a hook book. Like in my phone, in my notes app, I'll have, a ton of ideas that are terribly organized. And I am like looking through it and trying to figure out what to pitch in that room based on who's in the room, based on what the vibe is.
Okay.
We'll all go around and throw out ideas, and then whatever resonates the most with us, we'll start writing that. Usually someone or two people have a guitar. Every so often it's a keyboard, and then it just kind of evolves from there. We use a Google Doc so everybody can collaborate on it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then eventually, usually a few hours later, you come out with either half a song or a whole song. And it's really
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. It sounds like a fun time, actually.
It is. It really is.
So who would you say are some of your influences, I guess, when it comes to songwriting? Do you have a pretty diverse background, or are there a few that just kind of stand out?
I do have a very diverse background. It's funny because, yes, there are songwriters that I like, but I wouldn't like. There's a lot of people in songwriting who have like these songwriting idols and they want to write like them and they know all of their characteristics. And I'm really not like that. I work on my broad palette of music. So, a lot of this is influenced by everywhere that I've lived. So before I did move to Ireland, I lived in New Orleans. I lived in Louisiana for like 10 years. All of that, the jazz, the just all that kind of rootsy stuff really, really influenced me. And then, Irish music, Sean-nós singing, which is like a cappella, beautiful storytelling. Dubai, I literally, I lived in the desert because it was cheaper, and I got a car to drive into work. And on my way into work, I would listen to like a lot of the stations, the radio stations in Dubai are just guys singing the Quran a cappella.
Oh, wow.
For like hours and hours, days and days on end.
Wow.
And it's like the most beautiful singing you've ever heard. And I think like 80-something% of the population of Dubai is actually not from there, and a lot of them are Southeast Asian. And so every other station on my pre-programmed rental car radio was Bollywood stations, and adjacent to that. So like, I'm bopping around Dubai for 6 months listening to Bollywood and listening to the Quran. So like, it's really crazy wide, all of my influences, and I can't really begin to articulate how it all fits together, but I do think that being from Texas, listening to all this, listening to top 40, listening to country, and then going all around the world and having all these different musical influences probably is what I pull from.
What kind of projects are you working on like currently? I assume you're just constantly co-writing. Is there and I don't know if this is a fully formed question yet, but like when you co-write, do you get together with certain people with us, like a particular project in mind, or are you guys just getting together and saying, hey, let's write a song together and see if we can pitch it to someone? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So a lot of times, and ideally, you are trying to write with an artist in the room, because if the artist is part of the writing process, they have a stake in it in more ways than one, and may be more likely to cut the song from their experience in the room, and you try to write something that really resonates with them.
How does that happen though? Like, how do you get an artist in the room?
A lot of different ways. I think that was one of the really hard things to figure out first moving to Nashville is like, well, everyone says to write with an artist, but how do you even do that? Right. I think just honestly being around for 3 years and going to different rounds, doing workshops at NSAI, going to songwriting festivals and all these other things. There's so many ways to meet people, but there's a ton of artists out there, and they may not be doing millions of streams now. But,
right, not yet.
Yeah, but there eventually, I think you kind of get into your fold. You kind of end up with this crew of people, and eventually, I think artists start kind of popping into the circle. So a lot of the time there is an artist in the room, but a lot of the time there's not. In that instance, you kind of write whatever is in the room, as they say, that day. So whatever wants to be written. It sounds kind of crazy, but and then yes, we would try to pitch that. If we feel really strongly about the song that we wrote that day, then we might go to an NSAI workshop and pitch it to a publisher. We might email any contacts that we have with that. We might, direct message some artists and see if they're interested. Or it honestly might just sit in our catalog for a really long time and then hope that it has a future at some point. That's probably pretty realistic too.
That's interesting. So I don't know. I know Nashville's a big city and there's, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people there. But I recently interviewed Kyle Austin, country singer from Nashville. He plays the Valentine a lot on Broadway. And he also does some co-writes and stuff like that. That episode was just released. It's episode 24 if you want to check it out. The thing that keeps bubbling up, speaking with him and then also with you, is that Nashville seems to be, or I should say, at least the Nashville experience seems to be all about networking, right? Like you're actively trying to meet and make connections with as many people as possible to open as many doors as possible. Is that right?
That's right.
So so in addition to just, going to like a bar or restaurant or some festival and hooking up with writers from all over, you're also, what was the abbreviation you get? NS, what is it?
Yes, NSAI, Nashville Songwriters Association International.
Okay. And tell me, what's that? How do you get involved in it? Like,
the NSAI was the first place I think that I went when I came to Nashville. It was the only place I knew about. I didn't know how to get started. And I feel like they are that for a lot of new songwriters. So they have a place on Music Row that basically they're an advocacy organization. So they lobby Congress in favor of songwriters. There's kind of that arm of them. But they also put on workshops. They connect with publishers. They do education and stuff. So they also have writing rooms. So if people need to write, there's a ton of resources that NSAI gives, and they're amazing. But basically, when I moved to Nashville, it was so convenient because it was NSAI's first in-person event since the pandemic.
Okay.
When I moved there like 2 weeks before, and they just opened up. So I got to go to that, and it felt like everybody was new because everybody was meeting in person for the first time since, a few years had passed. So
yeah, sure.
So I honestly just went to a workshop, which I don't even think was a workshop. I think it was like a mixer or something that night, and just started to meet people from there. A lot of people I met that night are no longer doing it because it's difficult and I'm sure for other reasons, but there's so many varied resources within NSAI that I've just been able to participate in a lot of different ones. And once you start doing that, then you have these co-writers or these artists that you work with who are also connected to these people, and they'll bring them into a write, or you'll see them out with some other people that you'll meet. And so after a while, I think it starts to happen organically, but NSAI is a really great place to start.
Awesome. That's good to know. I mean, I've never even, not that I have plans on moving to Nashville to become a songwriter, but if anybody else out there is listening, then, that's a good first step, I guess you'd recommend, correct?
Yeah, that's how I did it, and I've found it really effective.
So tell me more about this customs song thing. I saw it on your website. You can order your own custom song. How does that work?
Yes. So this idea kind of started because I signed up for something called Songfinch. It was something that a few co-writers had mentioned to me. Songfinch is a platform where you can order a custom song for somebody that you love, and it makes kind of an amazing gift, to be honest, because basically you find a songwriter that you like. You say, hey, I want a song for this person. This is their name. This is our story. This is kind of what I want it to sound like. So here you go, basically. And then the songwriter will write a song, and then they get to give that as a gift to the person. So I started doing that, and then also realized that I could do both. I could do Songfinch. I can do it on my own as well. So I've been writing custom songs. I think the best way for people to get a custom song from me is to find me on Instagram at CarlyZCreative and message me. But I love doing that. It is so fulfilling. Yes, I love writing commercial music, but then to have someone directly be impacted, and they message me telling me how special it was for the person that they love. I mean, that's so amazing.
Great. And what kind of material or content are people asking for? Like what, to be in a song?
All different. I mean, it's fun. It runs the gamut of things. But a lot of it is, hey, my anniversary's coming up, or someone's birthday or Valentine's Day or something like that. And I just want them to know how special they are. We've been together for 30 years and, they love music, and I just want to do something special for them. That's usually how it goes.
Are you working on any other kind of like creative projects now? Even if it's not music, I mean, are you working on anything else as well?
Honestly, I feel like I'm in the period of the grind, It's like kind of head down, they call Nashville a 10-year town. I've been here for 3 years. I feel like sorry to interrupt. I don't think I've heard that before. So what does that mean, a 10-year town? Well, it used to be a 5-year down, and then it was a 7-year down, 10-year down. So, the idea is that it takes 10 years to, quote, make it, whatever that means.
Okay.
That's a long time to
Sure.
just be in a grind and hoping that you're going to make it. So I do feel like if that's the case and the pace that I'm going and what I'm seeing around me, that feels accurate. For good or for bad. And so I feel like right now I'm just in a head down phase of I'm working full time and saving money for honestly for a few things, but for my future as a songwriter is a big thing. I don't know what's going to happen if and when I get a publishing deal.
Right.
How much will that pay? We don't talk a lot in the songwriting community about how much we actually get paid. So I don't have a great idea of what that will look like. So but I want to have some money set aside so I don't completely drown when I jump off the job train.
Right.
But, I'm honestly co-writing all the time and just trying to get cuts by artists and build up a repertoire of really good songs, of cuts, of industry contacts. And I'm just in the thick of that right now.
Okay.
The idea being hopefully in a few years or whenever it'll pay off at some point. Opportunities will come from that, from my hard work.
Yeah. No, I agree. Sorry if this is a silly question, but like when most of us think of, making it in the music business, you picture somebody up on stage, world tour, multiple albums, all that stuff. What does it look like to a songwriter to like make it? Are we talking like publishing deal or like what define making it as a songwriter?
Yeah, it's a really good question because it is a little bit like touch it and it goes away. Like I feel like a lot of people want a publishing deal because that means that you, for the most part, means that you would get to be writing full time.
Okay,
although,
and is that like a guarantee? Like we'll pay you X amount of money for 10 songs or whatever.
Here's the thing: is like first of all, the vast majority of publishing deals that I've heard of, you get a draw. So kind of, exactly like a record deal. So you would get like, $30,000 and you would get it, depends on the deal, but like you might get it up front, but you would have to pay that back based on the amount of royalties that publisher gets from the songs that you wrote. They would keep up to 30,000 and then you would start getting paid. That $30,000 is a loan, basically.
Right. You're expected to use that to live off of so you can spend all your time writing or whatever. Okay. Got it.
Exactly. Yep. But the hard truth is, from what I have heard, and I've asked this question many times to people kind of in the ranks above me, is like, okay, but what does it actually look like? And the answer is a lot of times people still have jobs. Most professional songwriters still have jobs. So, I mean, that is what it is. It's not ideal, but what I hope is with the kind of grind that I'm on, I'll have some accomplishments under my belt even without a publisher, and then maybe we'll be able to leverage that later on to get a higher draw, to get more stable opportunities, something like that. That's kind of my hope.
Yeah. I mean, it's really the only thing you can do, right? Keep putting in the work and making those connections like you're doing, and hopefully, you get a number of songs that get picked up and cut, as you say, right? And hopefully it turns into something. So unfortunately, I think it's getting harder and harder to make money in the music industry. You know what I mean? Because so much music's available for free, and they're gone are the days of record contracts and buying physical music, right? Cassettes, CDs, vinyls, all that stuff. So yeah, I think everybody I've talked to, even if they're doing music as full time, like they don't have a day job, they have multiple types of music jobs. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it's certainly a different world than it was back in like the 80s.
It is. And I have to tell you that we are on the cusp of the biggest change in the music industry that we've ever seen with AI. Like,
oh yeah.
This, for the past long while, it's something that I've heard people say it hasn't really penetrated what I actually do day to day, so I haven't really been worried about it. And literally a couple weeks ago, I had a co-writer show me how to make an AI demo And literally, you know, we wrote the song as we would normally do, but then at the end of the session, put it into this AI platform and made a demo of it that you cannot tell is AI. And me with like a practiced ear, I like to think the vocal was on point. The entire production was better than any demo I've ever gotten. And I hate to say that because I have so many producer friends and I've tried producing and it's hard. It's so hard. So I respect the craft of it so much. And listen, there's so much that right now AI can't do. But the platform that I use right now, and I'm playing around with it, it's in beta. And I am telling you, it is scary. And scary, but at the same time, things always change. I don't want to be somebody who's sitting here saying that, you know, the sky is falling and there's no way we can ever make money again. I don't know what the future looks like, but what I'm telling you is like, it's not going to look like it looks right now, and it might happen faster than we think.
Yeah, I mean, I say unfortunately because I'm still old school when it comes to music, but yeah, like unfortunately, it will come faster than anybody's expecting. You know, there's going to be AI generated, you know, musicians that, you know, people that don't exist, you know, just in the digital world. They're gonna, you know, it's crazy. But yeah, I follow a YouTuber on named Rick Beato. I don't know if you've heard it, but yeah, I mean, he talks about AI and how it's coming, and we should all kind of prepare somehow.
I don't know how you prepare,
right?
Because I sit here and freak out a lot of times, like, oh my God, songwriters are the most inefficient variable in this whole equation. You know, like AI can write a song. I don't know what to plant my feet on going forward. I just have to go forward in what I feel like I need to do. Right. And take the changes seriously and try to ride those waves. But I don't know. It's so interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. The one argument I hear against AI is that, and I agree with it mostly, is that AI really just takes the stuff that's already been written and like reprocesses it. You know what I mean? You know,
yes, but it learns.
It does. And there's always people putting out more stuff, and with so much content out there, not everybody can listen to every single song. I mean, there's something like, I don't know, 30,000 songs released on Spotify every day.
100,
you know, is it 100,000?
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think that humans can keep up, where, you know, these computers, the AI, you know, whatevers, they can process all that stuff so much faster, create a song of stuff that's already been released, you know, bits and pieces like it does, and it would sound totally unique to somebody who can't keep up with what's being released. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I can't even really articulate my thoughts on, because there's so many thoughts on it, and I don't know the future. But I feel like there is going to be a place for us. I don't think AI is going to 100% take over everything, and then every person is going to be out of a job. Humans are always going to need to express, and there has to be some sort of place for that. I just don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, and I hope so. Fingers crossed. You know, as a musician who plays live, like I'm a solo acoustic cover guy that again writes songs occasionally and performs them. But I'm always hoping in the back of my mind, like, yeah, even if AI like takes over the music industry, I'm hoping that there's still going to be people out there that want to see a live performance and not just watch something on the screen, you know. But we'll see.
I honestly don't know. Yeah, I used to be the person who was like, well, it's human. Like humans are going to want human content. And the more that I hear AI and how closely it is to human content, I get a little bit scared.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Okay, so is there, before we get on with like the performance, is there anything else you wanted to cover or promote or let people know about you?
You know, I have a few artist cuts coming this year. So
nice.
Levi Foster is an artist that I have a few cuts with. He's got an album coming out sometime later this year. He was just on tour with Oliver Anthony, and he's got a really great following, and he's just an insanely good Americana artist. Like, people really have to check out his vibe you know, I can't even accurately describe it. It's so good, but it's kind of a throwback Appalachian, like, it's so good. So I have a few cuts on that. There's a pop artist that I write with all the time named Julian Moon. She has an album coming out, I think this month. that I have a few cuts on as well.
Nice.
And there's going to be a few kind of rolling in. A lot of times you never know exactly when that timeline is, but yeah, I'm just really excited about continuing to write, continuing to get those cuts, and keeping on.
That's awesome. So I mean, I guess I didn't pick up on it while we were talking. Like you're, and this might sound stupid to think that I'm just putting this together now, but you've been doing it for 3 years, right? And you've got artists cutting your songs, right? You've got stuff coming out. I assume there was some stuff released in the past, right? So you're making, I don't want to get personal about income, but you're making money from these songs that are being cut and released, right?
A very little bit. I mean,
Okay.
I'm like maybe the outlier in that I love talking about money. I think we don't talk about it enough. But yeah, it's very, 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 very little. But that's why I have a full-time job, and I don't mind that at all. So,
right.
That'll build up. But right now, yeah.
All right. That's awesome. That's great. Fantastic. So did you want to perform a couple songs for us?
Sure.
Okay. What songs do you think you want to do?
Well, I'd love to do the one that you were mentioning that won the Bluebird Golden Pick. It's called Quarterback. This is a song that I believe in so much. I know it's going to do something at some point. I don't know what that looks like, but every time we play it, my co-writer Aaron Rosing, it gets really good feedback. Publishers are excited about it.
Nice.
Artists are excited about it. We just need, that one opportunity, I think, from it. But
we just need Chris Stapleton to pick it up. That's all.
We need Chris Stapleton. And whoever has his number, that was amazing. So this song is called Quarterback. This is the first song that I think it was one of the first songs that we ever wrote, me and my co-writer Aaron Rosing, who you'll know that name eventually. Aaron is doing amazing things. And he brought this idea in. It had been sitting in his phone for a while. And from what he said, no one wanted to write it, but that's the thing about songs. They have to find the right room to come to life in. So this song is called Quarterback. It was her senior year, had a shot at state, first time since 98. Whole town turned out that Friday night to see the home team play. Yeah, it hurt real bad to lose like that. I told him he'd be alright. He said I'd never understand what it's like. And boy, I sure wish that he'd been right. And now every time I hear our song, the heartbreak that I thought was gone and all that went wrong comes rushing right back. Sweet Caroline on the radio is handing mine on the way back home. I thought forever would look just like that. But now I'm standing at this jukebox, and I just want my quarterback. I guess the time don't heal some things, it just kicks him down the road. Looks like he left me with a memory that ain't good at letting go. Yeah, it hurt real bad losing him like that, but I thought I'd be alright. But this music got me missing him tonight. And now every time I hear our song, the heartbreak that I thought was gone and all that went wrong comes rushing right back. Sweet Caroline on the radio is handing mine on the way back home. I thought forever would look just like that. But now I'm standing at this jukebox, and I just want my quarterback. I never saw it coming, and neither did he that night. And And I guess that F-150 never saw that red star flag. I never even got to say goodbye. And now every time I hear our song, the heartbreak that I thought was gone and all that went wrong comes rushing right back. Oh, sweet Caroline on the radio is hand in mine on the way back home. I thought forever would look just like that, but now I'm standing at this jukebox and I just want my quarter back. I'm standing at this jukebox, I'll never get my quarter back.
All right. That's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
I love the double meaning of quarterback. It's fantastic.
That's my thing. Like, it's called the Nashville flip, actually, is when you
Okay.
have a hook where it means one thing, and then maybe when you get to it in the chorus, you realize it means something different, or
Yeah.
it means something additional. And I love writing like that. It's my favorite
Yeah,
thing to do.
that's awesome. Yeah, Kyle mentioned that to me the other day too. He likes to, he called it the punchline. He says he never writes jokes, but you know, if he were to write a joke, that would be the punchline. Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
very cool. Yep. All right, cool. Yeah, the next song. What's the next song you're gonna do for us?
You know what? This is actually one that I wrote by myself.
Oh, okay.
That usually does not happen anymore, but every so often I'll get an inspiration or something, an urge to write a song by myself. I do that a lot with story songs because there's like a through line in my head that I just want to get out, and that's what happened with this song. So this song is called "I'd Do It Again." It was late one night, about 9:10 in a lonely Texas bar. There was something in the wind, said a storm's coming in, and boys, it ain't too far. Then by the lantern light, a figure slides in, darkened the door. Dripping blood, dragging mud across the sawdust floor. She had a pistol on the pine top, shining red. Ordered up a double, then she said, sometimes it's a real thin line between love and a little death. Some fellas can't help themselves when the devil asks to dance, but they sure do run from the end of a gun in a cheated woman's hand. So try me one more time, no, I won't lie, I'd done it damn right, and I'd do it again. Well, the sheriff came and called her name out through the smoky room. He said, I know what you've done and what in turn will be done to you. A dozen eyes watched her rising down that whiskey rye. Then she turned, stood real firm and said, I ain't scared to die, 'cause sometimes it's a real thin line between love and a little death. And some fellas can't help themselves when the devil asks to dance, but they sure do run from the end of a gun in a cheated woman's hand. So try me one more time, no, I won't lie, I'd done it damn right, and I'd do it again. Yeah. I'd do it again. No, no. Well, it wasn't long before that hammer came down, and they took her out to that old hanging ground. Hands tied behind her back and head held high. They said
said, you got any last words, girl? And she smiled and said, sometimes it's a real thin line between love and a little death. And some fellas can't help themselves when the devil asks to dance, but they sure do run from the end of a gun in a cheated woman's hand. So try me one more time, no, I won't lie. I'd done it damn right and I'd do it again. I'd do it again.
All right. That was great. Awesome, Carly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I had fun. I had fun talking to you. It was a great talk.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Good. I'm glad.